In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some studies on how just imagining exercising can make you stronger and why that happens. And this also applies to other motor skills like improving your dancing abilities or music skills and things like that. So I'll be focusing on studies looking at muscle strength, but this can apply to any other physical motor skill that you are trying to improve. Hi there, I'm Nish, and I am a full-time researcher with my PhD, and on my channel I share science to help you reach your weight loss, fitness, health, and nutrition goals. And if you've been here for any length of time, you probably know by now how important psychology is and your brain is for your ability to lose weight and get fitter. And I think today's studies are an especially strong example of that. So I'm just going to briefly skim through a few just to give you the highlights on looking at how just imagining exercising affects people's strength. And in one of these studies, the researchers had participants either imagine training their pinky finger or actually train their pinky finger, or a control group where they didn't do any kind of training. And so in the normal training, the physical training I'll call it, they had participants like push a heavy thing with their pinky finger over and over. They had this cool machine specifically for pinky finger exercises, which is pretty funny. And in the control group, participants didn't do any training. So they did not do special pinky exercises of any kind. And then most importantly, in the imagination group, or the mental training group, they had participants do sets of imaginary exercises, essentially. So they were told to imagine pushing something really hard with their pinky for 5 seconds, and then take a break, and then keep doing that over and over. And this happened for 12 weeks, so participants either imagined training their pinky, actually trained their pinky, or did nothing for 12 weeks. And then the researchers tested their strength. And they found that the participants who actually trained their pinky, so actually did the exercises, gained about 50% strength, whereas the people who did not train at all didn't do anything. Just the control group didn't gain any strength at all, unsurprisingly. But the crazy part is that the people who only imagined training their pinky, so did these imaginary sets of imaginary exercises, actually gained 35% strength. And 4 weeks later, so after the initial 12 weeks, they tested them again 4 weeks later, and they found that the imagination mental training group actually increased another 5%, just lingering increases from having trained before, I guess. So even though it's not quite as effective as actual exercise, I feel like a 40% gain from doing nothing compared to a 50% gain from actually training is a pretty good deal. So you get almost all the way there just from imagining exercising. And another study found that if you imagine exercising your right hand, you actually get strength gains in your left hand too. So that's pretty wild, I'd say. And yet another study found that imagining exercising in between sets of a real exercise actually improves people's performance. So they had people do leg press, for example, and then whenever they were in between their sets of actual leg press, they had the participants imagine doing more leg presses. And then that led to them actually doing better on subsequent leg presses and getting stronger over time, more than people who did not imagine doing leg presses. And studies that have looked at why this is happening and why just imagining training actually improves muscle strength found that this increase in muscle strength was related to an increase in electroencephalogram-derived cortical output, also known as EEG output. And this is actually a machine I use too to look at brainwaves. And so what they're finding is that just imagining exercising actually improves your brain's ability to send signals to your muscles. So you pretty much have your brain get strengthened as a result of imagining exercising. And what this means is that just imagining exercising is actually helping to train your brain on how to tell your muscles to contract. Because a lot of strength gains, whether it's from physical training or mental training, actually come from improving your brain's ability to communicate with your muscles. And I know I've been talking a lot about muscle strength, but just as a reminder, this kind of mental training effect also applies to things like dance. So things that are fine motor skills that you want to improve might benefit from you just imagining yourself doing them when you're not able to actually do them. And of course, this isn't a replacement for actually working out, but it seems like it could be a great thing to add because it's really easy to do. You can do it no matter how you're feeling, and you don't need equipment for it. So I think I'm gonna start doing it too, actually, because there's a lot of studies on this. So it's not just like one random study found this, but there's a very surprising amount actually. So that was pretty cool.